What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Socials Podcast, episode 9. I'm Gabe.
I'm Rob.
And once again, this is Socials Podcast. Oops. If you're new here, then once again, I want to let you guys know we are Socials Podcast. What we do is we represent a lifestyle brand here to normalize cannabis through conversations. We want to show cannabis education and legalization, and mainly through conversation. That's the thing. So for those of you that have been watching us, thank you for following us. We really appreciate that.
Thank you to any of the new subscribers that we've gotten, new followers on Instagram and on YouTube, the WeedTube,
Exactly.
Spotify. All of our platforms.
Yeah, everybody supporting us in our motto, and what we say is cannabis can be a part of your life without being all of your life.
Exactly. So be on the lookout for audio drops on Spotify every Wednesday at 4:20, and then the videos will be posted on every Monday following that at 4:20 as well on YouTube and the WeedTube.
Yep. Thank you to everyone who has recently subscribed to us. I know we went from 11 to 20, so that's a great jump. Let's keep it up. I want to make note of that. Any step in the right direction is a good step. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for that. I know everyone here who's watching right now is like, look at this guy. He's got a black eye, right? I have a black eye. I have to get it out. I got to tell you guys what happened. I recently went to a couple of cannabis events, and it was great time, really fantastic. I went to the Wolfpack Live event in San Diego from 10 to about 3, and then I went up to the Cannabis coaches. Shout out Bradley King. I went to his birthday party, and after that event, that was in Laguna Beach. And after that event, I was walking to my car, and I slipped and fell off the curb and hit my head on the concrete. So, yeah, and I was laying there, and my boy, shout out Johnny at Inspired by Cannabis, saved my life, man. He shook me, and he's like, hey, you good? And I was like, yeah. I'm good, man. I'm tired. And I drove there, so I felt bad, but he drove back, and he got me home safe. And shout out to Bradley King for also showing love and support. He made sure I was safe. He got me water. Shout out to Chiefin with Chelsea. She also hit me up today, actually, and we connected, and I said thank you for showing love and support. Thank you to everyone that I met. It was a great event. I was rolling so many blunts. It was crazy. Oh, man. I rolled like more than I could think of, and I learned a lot too. It's crazy. You learn a lot at these events. But
yeah, I was gonna say that I think a lot of people are scared of going to events, but maybe they're scared for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
maybe it's not necessarily that it's scary at the events, but maybe you trip on a curb outside and hit your head.
That's probably the scariest thing so far that I've gotten in this industry is tripping from a curb. That's the closest thing I've gotten to an altercation in this industry. So
for somebody that doesn't go to events, what can they expect going to one? Because I think that that is people don't know, so they just don't go at all.
That's a good question.
Like that. So what goes on in your experience at these events?
Honestly, it really depends on what is being showcased in the flyer. So when you see on Instagram, typically events will show what they're trying to do. For example, recently the Cannabis coaches event was a birthday bash. So I know coming into it, it was a celebration, right? Or sometimes there are events, for example, the blunt talks. So I know that's going to be a cannabis education event. So when you go to those, I typically expect you'll see a booth, some sort. You'll see companies with booths, and you'll have somebody representing that brand or that company, and you can anticipate them. They want to know who you are, what brings you out here, and we also want to know your cannabis journey. People like me, when we go out there, I want to showcase and get to know people on a different level. So one thing I expect is you're gonna run into people who are obviously smoking cannabis. You're always gonna see that. You're gonna run into a lot of networking people, a lot of people from social media as well that you recognize, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've seen them in real life. It's really, really close net. People think that the industry or the community is very vast. I think the community is a lot smaller than what people anticipate. So a lot of the people you see on Instagram, you will see at the events. If you're in LA a lot too, it depends on where you're at too. If you're at big events like the High Times Cannabis Cup, I personally haven't been to one of those like that, but the Secret Sesh LA event was really big. Those are where you have, gazebo type events where it's almost like a swap meet style.
Tons of vendors, tons of exhibitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also mixed with like a carnival. it's sort of that perfect blend. Those are the best events though to go to, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like, geez, I don't even remember who was at High Times. What was that, like a month ago now? I
Yeah,
don't
the
even remember
Cannabis
who was
Cup.
there, but like they have a lot of like bands playing, musicians, all that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Lots of stuff to go on at the big ones, but
Yeah.
I think that's probably like good to go to one of the big ones first to get like your feet wet, right? Like maybe it's like a lot going on, but at least like if you've ever been to like a fair, a carnival or something like that, it's like just the same but a little bit different as opposed to like one of the smaller kind of like meetups and stuff, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people worry about, one thing that we should talk about is when you're at these events, one thing you should expect people to come up to you and talk to you. That's expect to be social, because I'm not saying you should be social or prepared, but prepare to talk to people and don't be afraid to be who you are. That's something I've learned a lot through the Blunt Talks with Jackie Stang talking about that. Don't be afraid to be who you are and represent why know your why you're in this industry, know why you got involved in cannabis, know why it's part of your journey now. Right? So for me, I know why I like going to these events. I like meeting people. I like to get to know how they got in this industry. I like to know how they balance their life. And because I'm trying to figure out how to balance my life. You should always be a student to the game,
Yeah.
Always have that student mentality. That's what we learned in college, and I want to apply that in everyday life. So that's what I think. And when you go to these events, just always be open to learning, to getting to know people, and you'll have a great time. And you'll always find free cannabis. You'll always find it. Always. Don't even worry. Don't expect to get free stuff, but expect to have a good time, and you'll find it. You'll find your way.
Going with an open mind, right?
Exactly. But I want to catch up with you, man. I know you haven't been on the podcast in a minute, so I'm pretty sure people want to know what's going on with you, or I do at least.
I mean, honestly, not a ton. It's just been a lot of work.
You are a grinder, man.
Yeah, like like maybe people that listen to us don't know, but I have my own business. It takes up a lot of time, and sometimes I got to travel for it and all that kind of stuff. I haven't been to China recently, but I go there regularly enough. I was actually in Seattle during the week for a summit that Amazon put on.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it was their selling partners summit. So talks about like how to sell well on Amazon and how to optimize for your business and expanding globalization and all that kind of stuff. So super interesting. I actually met this guy, Scott. He was. I brought a sticker with me actually.
Shout out Scott.
Yeah, Scott from Kush Creams. So he I don't know if you can see that, but so he was wearing this. It says, "Yo mama uses Kush Creams and so does your granny."
Wow.
Yeah, and so he was wearing that, like he was wearing like a crew neck sweater, and that was on his back, and he was sitting a little bit in front of me, and so I see that and I'm like what the heck, like, because first off, like the fact that I'm seeing like Kush at like this summit, this conference, right? Like that's interesting right off the bat. I want to like see like what this guy's all about, but Kush Creams as well, because like when you think Kush, you think like smoking and all that kind of stuff, right? But and THC, but then creams, you think like CBD hemp.
I was thinking ice cream. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why I was thinking ice cream. Some people,
either way,
to each their own. But yeah, I got you.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, I wonder if like it's like THC infused CBD cream or like what, So I went up to him. I talked to him for a bit, and Kush Creams is essentially like CBD, but they keep the Kush in the name because it like has that draw to it, right? And he was telling me about like all the issues that he has with trying to sell his product specifically online. He was trying to sell on Amazon, and he applied to sell the product on Amazon like 6 times, kept getting rejected. But he was like, no, I know that it's fine. It like meets everything like legally, whatnot.
Because it's hemp, right?
Yeah, it's
hemp derived.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So
and
it's totally.
But they can't say that in the listing. They can't say CBD. They can't say He actually talked to another. There was another guy that like joined our conversation. I didn't catch his name. I don't remember his name, but he said that you can't use like hemp oil, hemp seed oil, stuff like that, because now that's another one of those like kind of blacklisted terms on Amazon. You can't like actually use that in like your back end search terms or your product listing. So if you go on Kush Creams or you search Kush Creams on Amazon, you're not going to find like the word or like the letters CBD in that description, because technically they're not allowed to.
I see.
Even though like that's what's in the product and everybody knows that's what's in the product, right? But you can't talk about it. And then any of those CBD oils and that kind of stuff that you see online, theoretically, like none of them are actually saying that they're like from hemp. You know, it's just like whatever oil, whatever
it's sort of
creams,
like,
you know.
It's so crazy how you have to be very specific in your wording and the language and in the fine print, like in order to bypass certain things and get through the red tape. It's so difficult. And it ties back to the stigma of cannabis and everything that it represents. It's still Schedule 1 drug. I know they're trying to get rid of that. And it's looking like it's going to happen hopefully in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So that way they can get more studies on it and everything. So
that's the crazy part. And I know we talked about it last time I was on, at least, is that like the hemp is totally legal.
Yeah, it's legal to sell.
It's totally legal. You can grow it, you can refine it, you can sell it, but it's, you know, like it's just has this stigma against it because it's so closely associated with like bud, with weed, right? Yeah. The marijuana, the devil's lettuce.
It's so hard to describe it because it's cannabis, but when you get specific, there's hemp, and to describe the cannabis indica plant, that's what they define it as: marijuana, weed, bud, dank, gas, whatever you call it. Anyone who's watching this, let us know what you guys call your flower or whatever the terms you call
whatever you
cannabis,
want to call it.
or THC. You know what I'm referring to. Flower, whatever you want to call it. Just comment it what's around your area, because I hear so many things. You know, it's so many different lingos for it. Loud could even be one of it. I got that loud. You know.
Yeah.
So it's funny though when you know the lingo. It's like it's that idea of if you know, you know. It makes it almost like appealing, you know.
And like
to be
I feel like there's almost like a certain level of like trying to find new terms as like everything, as things become more normalized and like the general population knows like, you know, what weed is. At a point in time, like nobody knew what weed was. Like that term, they didn't realize it described marijuana, right, or whatever. So I feel like everybody's like I think that. I mean, I don't know all the terminologies, the etymologies of all the different words, but like loud, I feel like that's like more of a relatively newer term, you know, because you got to keep trying to figure out a way to like hide what you're talking about.
And it's also incentivizing, like to say, oh, I got that gas or that fire, you know.
Yeah.
It's very like, it makes you want to be like, oh, what's that? Like, dang, gas, it must be good, you know. So
whenever anybody says that they got gas, I'm just like, oh, you think you're gonna fart or what?
Yeah. It's funny, but it's also nice when you actually meet someone who does have like that good weed.
Yeah.
Shout out to Justin Cures, who was on the last episode. He that Jack's Lemonade, man, that was nice. That was one of the nicest strains I've had in a while. So it's crazy what's going on out here in this industry, though. I know recently we just saw earlier. Shout out to Beard Bro Farms, Bill Levers and his brother. They're really big on publishing media really quickly. They published an article about the raids that are going on in Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's crazy. The post went down 2 hours ago, or went up 2 hours ago, and it said raids turned up 40,000 pounds of marijuana, 350,000 plants in San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara counties. Yeah,
that's wild.
40 pounds of
40,000
pounds of illegal cultivation operation.
Man, I don't even know what that, like, I can't even picture like what that looks like, the volume of that.
Talk about a hit in the black market though, man. It's unfortunate about what happened. You know, it's crazy what's going on. It's just like you said earlier, like it just shows, legalization doesn't mean you can do what you want. We do have to abide.
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand these laws. And it's so controversial, it's confusing, but that's why it's important for us to get the education and the awareness out of what you can and can't do.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, we posted on Instagram a while back about a raid in Colorado that it was like, I forget the volume now.
yeah,
But I think it was like 10,000 plus pounds.
Mhm.
They confiscated like hundreds of thousands of plants or something like that.
out of residential homes too.
As I was gonna say, is out of residential homes. Just because it's legalized doesn't mean that you can legally grow as much as you want. Obviously those were big operations, but you gotta be careful because people snitch.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it's one thing I learned at Blunt Talks was that like Jackie's saying, she said it, the war on drugs isn't over. It's not over. And she's so right about it. It's crazy. She knows a lot. She's been in the industry for about 15 to 20 years. So it was so great to learn from her and learn from a lot of people at the Blunt Talks event. It was a lot. It was amazing, man. I wish you could have gone out there, but don't worry.
When was it?
It was, I think, last Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Or two Tuesdays ago.
I was in Seattle.
Yeah. You were out there doing your thing. One of the guys I really know well is at Respect My Region. His name's Joey Japing. He's from Seattle.
Oh,
and
really?
He lives out here in LA. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's funny. That's the opposite. I was telling Gabe earlier that Scott from Kush Creams, he's from OC and then moved to Seattle. So it's kind of funny. They just kind of switch positions. But
yeah. You're saying he's gonna come back out. He doesn't really come back out here that often.
Yeah. I was telling him I was like, you got to be on this podcast, because he himself has been in industry a long time too, and he worked with Damian Marley on, I always forget the name. I was trying to tell you earlier and I forgot the name. Ocean Breeze or Ocean Grown.
I forgot.
It was something like that. I don't think that it's around anymore, or if it is, it's a lot smaller. They kind of scaled back, but but he's been in the industry a long time, tons of experience. He was in more like the bud side of it, and now it's switched over to like the CBD, more the hemp side of it with legalization. He said with legalization everything got harder. So he moved over to more like that CBD side, like I said. But yeah, I told him, I was like if you are ever like back home, if you're ever in LA, OC, whatever, like let me know. We exchange contact info. He said maybe he'll come down like in the fall. He said he usually comes down. So hopefully we can get him on and talking about his experience, his perspective, and the Washington perspective. We've talked a lot about like the OC LA experience, and like
we definitely got to get some insight from another state that has legalized cannabis for a while now and see how it's benefited their markets and benefited their community.
Yeah, or maybe what hasn't. There are benefits, there are positives and negatives to everything, right? So we want to know like as much as possible, right? As many perspectives as possible so we can understand, right?
Yeah.
Understanding is education.
Exactly. And the goal is to get a better understanding for both cannabis consumers and non-consumers. That's why we want to show and bridge that gap and help that community as well, and give us that respect, and that's how you break the stigma as well.
Yeah. Normalize.
Exactly. That's what it's about, just conversating.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about, it's funny that you mentioned CBD and how a lot of people, once it became legal, you had to go into more people went into the CBD route. That's why it's such a bigger industry now. I actually, when I was at the Wolfpack Live event, there was a cannabis attorney there. Her name is, shout out at Persian Cat. Her name's Kat. I actually session with her. I always love session with people. It's so great to build that connection. So we actually sessioned together during the live event. It was awesome. So I asked her what about CBD, and I said, if you are a CBD brand, do you need to get a cannabis license from the BCC, like a retailer's license or distribution license or anything in regards to that? And they said no. In fact, you don't, because doesn't fall under THC, marijuana,
right?
Whatever the terminology they're gonna put on that.
Yeah.
But it's different than CBD. We've defined that in a different episode.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest routes. No wonder why it's easier to go to CBD. You don't even need to go through that whole licensing process. So it's easier. No wonder why it's getting bigger.
And even when you go through all that licensing and whatnot, you still might not be totally compliant.
Because that's the other red tape. It's just because it's easier, you don't have to go through that doesn't mean you don't have red tape to cross or you don't have obstacles coming in your way. And that's what we want to showcase. We want to bring on brands and companies that have gone through that obstacle, and they can shed some light for any new people that want to get in this industry. There are a lot of new people who are in this, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see new faces. I know we're a new face. We haven't been in the game for a while, but we want to start dipping our toes in the water,
Yeah.
So it's great to finally be at events and networking with people. It's really a good time, especially with cannabis, because I feel like it's really different than any other industry. It's just completely, the events have changed, because like the Wolfpack Live event was much different than the Birthday Bash event I went to this weekend. So the Wolfpack Live was more business networking, where you're talking to the people who were hosting was Manja Ganja. Shout out at Manja Ganja. They had great edibles. It was amazing, delicious. It was husband and wife. The husband is Ivan. I actually emailed him. I want to network with him because he's all about family oriented and creating a community, and that's what we're about. It's finding companies like that. That's why we go to those events. And I felt like, wow, this is where I need to be at the time, And yeah, they have dabs. Yeah, you can take cannabis. Of course, it's part of the lifestyle.
Right.
And that's what we're showcasing. Is this is part of a lifestyle. Going to these events, it's part of us. It's not just work. It's our life.
Yeah.
Majority of us consume, and even the owner Ivan, he said he didn't consume before, and now he's starting to. So it's awesome to see that, that transition, and see someone new getting into the cannabis community, or even for the people who don't consume cannabis, the people who respect it. That's awesome for them, and I want to give them props and thank you for showing us support.
Yeah.
So it's awesome though. I want you to come out with us, man. We're gonna get this guy out more. You're gonna see his face. It's gonna be awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. I work too much.
I know, bro. You gotta come play with us.
Network and
It's still work, but it doesn't feel like it, man. You'll know what I talk about, and then you'll be able to shed some light on your experience and going to these events and give your perspective as well. Because we all go through different things at events.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just crazy.
So back to a little bit of news. I was just kind of browsing some headlines and whatnot, and one big thing that I saw a couple times actually was that Congress voted to block the feds from enforcing like marijuana laws essentially in legal states.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So wow. It's a step in the right direction, but you got to keep in mind it's only a step, right? A lot of the headlines, they'll, show a lot of like progress and whatnot, and then that's not like the full truth.
Yep.
So, and we're here to provide as much perspective as possible, right? So even though there's like an asterisk by that, so even though Congress voted on that, now it still has to pass the Senate. So, and in all likelihood, it's not going to pass the Senate, but it's showing that it's in the right direction, right? That it's making headlines that, hey, Congress is moving this way. So, depending on how we vote,
hopefully it goes well.
Maybe we can change up kind of how the Senate looks, for a little bit more marijuana positivity, or
That's what we need, man. It's just positivity.
Yeah. But see that also gets into all the confusion that whole like, state versus federal and all that stuff. Confusion because federally it's illegal, but in certain states it's okay. And so
even more confusing is that is in certain cities it's not okay. In certain cities it is okay.
Yeah.
That's even more confusing within the states that have legalized it. So it not only does it depend on what state you're in, it depends on what county you're in, what city you're in.
Yeah. There's like jurisdictions on jurisdictions.
So many. That's why I'm saying these laws are like stacked on top of each other, and it's hard to see through the light. You know what I mean? So
one thing that I thought was interesting, this is getting a little bit more political, but Trump actually said that he was going to leave it up to the states to decide on the legality of marijuana. So, I mean, we're not thinking about any other politics besides that.
Yeah.
But I think that that's a good sign, because if the president is saying, hey, federally,
it's not
I don't care, it's not up to us, let's leave it up to the states. Okay. I think that's good progress, because and then we see that Congress is voting that way too, right? So now it's just up to the Senate.
Yeah.
So if the Senate kind of follows the president or kind of follows Congress,
either way,
you know, we're getting there super slowly, right? And you know, if in 2020 the presidency changes, you know, maybe we'll have to take a different perspective, or maybe that president will have a different perspective or whatever. But I feel like at the highest level, you know, Obama was the same way, right? Like states figure it out, right? So we're getting there, you know, even with, I'm not gonna get political, never mind.
Yeah, no, but I think,
but at the level of the president.
Yeah, and not only that, I also think that it's a positive step in the right direction, because it keeps cannabis in a trending topic. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It keeps it in discussion. You don't let it go away. Always bring it to Congress, because if we don't keep budging them and pushing them, they're not gonna want to move. They're not gonna. If they have bigger events to deal with, of course, like it's like anything. If I'm too busy to handle one thing, why am I going to worry about that? So that's sort of Trump's way of saying, like, I'm too busy with everything I'm going. That's my perspective, or what I got out of it was like, it's not up to me, leave it up to the states. But that's hard, because think about it right now. We have 11 states that have legalized recreationally. So are we going, even if he leaves it up to the states, are we, and then we have, I think 29, or I might be wrong on that, how many states medicinally we've legalized. I forgot exactly the number, but my question is,
but there's a lot of different levels too
to legalization. Like, what does that
because
mean exactly?
There's decriminalization, there's legalization. Those are two different things.
Exactly.
Then there's recreational and medicinal.
That's
so
it's a
and then
whole
there's still
bunch
CBD,
of different levels, and then there's
right?
still hemp, and then you know what I mean. That's all different. You know what I mean? There's medicinal CBD. There's recreational THC, totally different industries, totally different legalization routes as well, as far as licensing and processing. So when it comes to regulation, of course, they're going to have to be treated as two different industries. So it's like almost like sub-industries within the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
It's going to be, that's why it's so hard to get all this paperwork going, because think about all the things they got to tackle.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. And that's why it'd be really nice to just have a blanket, everything's fine. But you get into states, counties, communities, whatever it is, that are super against it, right? So if the president, or if Congress, or the federal government, however you want to look at it, if there's just a blanket yes across things, people are going to be upset, and we have to understand that. And it's not like we're not here to judge why they're upset by that. We're just here to try to educate and like hopefully get people to understand our perspective as well, right? So I just lost my train of thought.
No, but it's important that we show our perspective, because it's also our experiences that we're going through too. We're all adjusting to the laws of cannabis and everything that's going on regarding cannabis education, the new articles that come out. You know, we're recently learning about terpenes. So, terpenes has been coming out. We're seeing more studies on terpenes, and I'm starting to actually learn about it more. That rather than talking about strains, like at the Wolfpack Live event, one of the questions that was asked to the guests, which was Jay from Bailey CBD, Aaron from Bailey CBD, Young Jin from C Phoenix, and I forgot David from Balanced Lifestyle, and Bailey. They were all on there, and they asked them about regarding cannabis and sports, and they asked, do you prefer sativa or indica? And David actually answered very, very well, in the sense of he defined it, that he steered away from answering like that, and he said it really depends on the effects and the terpenes and how they affect you. That was his definition of steering away from the myth of indica and sativa, which we defined on a previous episode.
Right.
So that I think that's our way of changing the stigma and actually providing cannabis education, because you know, it's when we go to these dispensaries and they ask sativa, indica hybrid, we're still marketing that, and that's technically in my opinion, that's technically a myth, right?
Right.
So how is it that we're doing that? It's so hard because
Yeah.
we'd have to change a lot of the things. We'd have to change indica sativa hybrid to terpene effects. That's a whole different culture. Like indica sativa hybrid has been a part of the culture, and that's what is the hardest thing to realize. It's going to be so hard to change.
And that was something that I was going to say is like people are educated or have been educated through word of mouth, through people just passing it through generations. You learn something from somebody else. I don't know. Then you pass on to me. I pass on to somebody else. So now it's a game of telephone, right? So things might get tweaked, things might get changed, so like that.
Definitely.
People are a little bit misinformed, right? So we need to like look at High Times, Leafly, Normal.
Use them as credible sources as well.
Yeah, to help expand that knowledge out so people have a better idea, the users and the non-users. Exactly. So that everybody can see the multiple perspectives and understand like where we're coming from,
And especially to establish, like you said, when you're we're educating non-consumers as well. That's another thing we're doing. We're not just educating people within the industry. Yeah, we're coming up with these new studies and we're finding things out, but this is for the whole world to see. And we need to use social media, and we are using it now. We are using it. We're continuing to do it, but it's hard because we have to fight Instagram now. We have that's a constant battle. So not only are we dealing with legalization, now we're dealing with social media and using one of our most highly prioritized marketing tools is Instagram and Facebook, right? And then there's YouTube and there's WeTube. Those are very, very important if you want to get successful in this business and building a brand. So, but with Instagram, if you really want to get serious, you need to have like 3 backup pages already right off the bat. Just like that's just how it has to be. And then you build one and you have the others, then you get deleted at one and then you have the other 2, and hopefully you don't get deleted or you don't get shadow banned. But it's part of that stigma and the umbrella of cannabis that we fall under, and it's still technically illegal federally, but we're still we're dealing with that. We're dealing with a lot of different things, but it's okay. Everybody in the industry is still positive, and that's what it's about, is that positive mentality. If you have a positive attitude in this industry and you come in here and you want to help people and help build a community, you're going to meet the right people. And if you don't, then you don't. Like, you'll know when you meet certain people whether you're going to network with them or not. Definitely.
Yeah.
So it's important that we continue to break the stigma, and we're doing it, man. I'm really happy for everything that's going on in the industry as well. There's a lot of big people that are coming out and speaking that haven't before at Blunt Talks. A lot of people for the first time were doing public speaking that they haven't done in a long time. So it was great to see them come out and do that. That's people in the industry who have been growing for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so hard to finally come out and be like, hey, I've been doing this since way before it was even legal. But it's you have people like that, and then you have the balance of really rich millionaires coming in and investing. So it's hard to find.
Yeah, the culture vultures.
The culture vultures, man. It's just it's part of what's here. It's in every industry, honestly. But I'm not trying to say people. I will say this: not everybody who comes from the East Coast over here is culture vulturing. I don't want it to be like an idea. If the idea is, if you're here to build a community, like I said, and spread positivity and network and meet people and promote businesses, then that's you'll understand the LA culture. And it's very different when you're in LA, OC, San Diego, and you'll understand if you're open to learning and you have that student mentality, you'll be open to understanding what's going on. Then it'll be like the aha moment, just like when you first smoked weed, right? That aha moment of, oh man, like this is not what it seems like. This is not what everybody says what it is. And then when you get in the industry, it's like, oh, this is what it is. This is not what I first anticipated when you think of this industry.
Right.
So,
like the events you go to,
right?
You have you might have something in your head like, this is like spooky or whatever because of this reason, and then you go or you smoke or whatever it is, and you get introduced into it,
Honestly,
oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah. The scariest part about going to the event is from the parking lot to walking up to the event. Because it's like you don't know exactly where it's at. And it's so low key that you got to like, it could be behind any door you see. So you got to really be like, is this the address? Like, oh, shoot. Like, am I right here? Especially, I'm not really familiar with downtown LA.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why it's particularly spooky for me because I'm not really from there. So it's very different when I'm there. And I'm like, oh, where's it at? It could be on the 10th floor for all I know.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's when you're out in like other areas, it could be different though. You know, like a lot of them are at houses too. So you don't know which address you're at. You could pull up to the wrong house. I don't know. That's always like worst case scenario for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's going to be great having you come out to more events. We're doing a lot more
Yeah.
big things. We just got these new shirts. I don't know if you guys noticed. Over the weekend, I was wearing some. So yeah, we got a new batch of shirts. We did a post, I think a week ago, I think, about it. But yeah, we're gonna be getting a lot of things up and running.
So if you want shirts, send us a DM.
Oh yeah.
I'm working on the website right now, but we're not there quite yet. Hopefully by the time we record the next podcast, we'll be there.
Yep.
Socialslifestyle.com. Periodically check, see if anything's up. But if you're interested in grabbing a shirt, send us a DM and we'll hook you up.
Yeah, and just to let you know, the shirts are for continuing the podcast. We just want to constantly promote, and we want to start showing our appreciation, and we are going to be doing a couple of things coming up and as far as giving back to the community and to all of you followers and subscribers. So we will let you know what's coming up. Be on our social media on Instagram at Socials Lifestyle. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a wild ride. Yeah, shout out to our boy Christian for getting these shirts for us. You'll be seeing them at events and stuff, so it's gonna be awesome. We're really taking this to the next level, and you guys will see us grow. I'm glad that you guys are a part of our journey. For those of you that are new and checking in or coming in, thank you for watching us for the first time. We hope that you continue to watch us. We're gonna bring on different guests, show transparency in the industry, and talk about trending topics and things that are going on. So I'm really thankful for everything and all of you guys' support. Thank you to Bailey for the Wolfpack Live event. You hosted a great event. Thank you Bradley for hosting the birthday bash. It was amazing. Shout out to the boy Scott from Kush Creams.
Kush Creams.
Yeah.
You can check them out at www.kushcreams.com.
Yep.
If you want to get some CBD oil or hemp seed oil or whatever they're allowed to call it now.
A couple events I'm going to be going to this week is the High LBC event. That's going to be on Thursday, June 27th. And a lot of big companies are going to be there. It's going to be so awesome. We go there every month, or we're going to start going there every month. And it's going to be awesome for those of you. It's going to be in Long Beach. Be sure to follow at the LBCA or at Bevel Group, and you'll get to come see us at the High LBC. We'll also be at the Cannabis Works Veterans Fair on Sunday from 11 to 4. That's going to be in Santa Ana. You can follow them at k.worksoc. And then the other event we're going to go to is the Lit events out in downtown LA at the Spot on Main. Shout out to Johnny. He's going to actually have his booth there, his first booth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man. He's got his apparel. It's awesome, man. I want to go support him. So it's going to be out there at the Spot on Main from 6 to 11 downtown LA. So tickets are $25. I think they're still available. I got to get mine. So.
This Saturday, right?
Yeah, this Saturday. It's going to be awesome, man. It's talking about breaking the stigma about cannabis in sports. So they're bringing on a UFC fighter. I forgot the name. I got to pull up on social media, but yeah, it's going to be awesome, man.
As former athletes, we should go.
I know, man. That's what I was thinking. We got to get our story out there. We definitely are true pioneers of breaking the stigma in our story. So we got to get that out there. But thank you for tuning in. It was awesome that we had this episode, episode 9. We can't wait for the next one. I'm Gabe.
I'm Rob.
And this is Socials Podcast.
See you next time.